Jinho walked into the massive auditorium with his head tilted back, staring at the ceiling that seemed to stretch into infinity. The Galactic Military Academy was nothing like the schools back home. Everything here was huge, built to accommodate species of all shapes and sizes. Some of his fellow cadets had to duck through doorways. Others floated because their bodies were not meant for walking at all. He found a seat near the middle of the room and sat down carefully. The chair adjusted itself to fit his body, which still felt strange even after 3 days on the station. Around him, dozens of alien cadets chatted in languages that his translator implant struggled to keep up with. Clicks, whistles, hums, and sounds he had no names for filled the air. A tall figure entered from the side door, and the room fell silent. Commander Vakrin stood at least 3 meters tall, covered in dark green scales that gleamed under the lights. His yellow eyes swept across the room, and Jinho felt a chill run down his spine. This was a predator, he could tell, but then again so was he. "Welcome, cadets," Vakrin's voice boomed through the hall. "Today you will learn about the most dangerous places in the galaxy. Places where even our most advanced technology cannot protect you. Places we call Deathworlds." A holographic display appeared above the commander's head. It showed a spinning planet covered in angry red markings. The sight made several cadets gasp. "This is Kreth 9, Vakrin continued. "A Class 7 Deathworld. The atmosphere will burn your lungs in seconds. The gravity will crush most species before they take 3 steps. Storms on this planet move faster than our fastest ships. It is forbidden for any cadet to approach this world without special authorization." Another planet appeared. This one was icy blue with black spots. Frozen Var. Class 8 Deathworld. The temperature never rises above what would flash freeze your blood. The ice itself is sharp enough to cut through standard armor. Creatures on this world have developed crystalline exoskeletons that can pierce starship hulls. Jinho watched as planet after planet appeared. Each one seemed worse than the last. Worlds with acid rain, worlds with gravity so strong that light itself bent, worlds where the very ground was alive and hungry. Then a new planet appeared on the display. It was beautiful. Blue oceans covered most of the surface. Green and brown continents sat between the water. White clouds swirled in peaceful patterns. It looked almost inviting. Several cadets made sounds of relief. Finally, something that did not look like a nightmare. But Vakrin's expression grew dark. His scales seemed to stand on end. "This," he said slowly, "is the worst of them all. We designate it as Terra. Classification, Class 12 Deathworld. In all my years of service, I have never seen a more hostile planet still capable of supporting complex life." Jinho leaned forward. Something about that planet seemed familiar. "The gravity on Terra is crushing," Vakrin said. "Most species would collapse under their own weight within hours. The atmosphere contains a highly reactive gas that causes oxidation. Staying there long-term would literally rust your insides." The commander began pacing. "But the gravity and atmosphere are just the beginning. This planet is geologically violent. Its crust is broken into massive plates that grind against each other constantly. This creates earthquakes that can level cities, volcanoes that darken the sky for years, tsunamis that can cross entire oceans." More images appeared. Jinho saw swirling storm systems erupting mountains and waves taller than buildings. "The weather systems are catastrophic," Vakrin continued. "Hurricanes with wind speeds that exceed safe atmospheric entry velocities. Tornadoes that can appear with almost no warning. Temperature variations that swing from boiling to freezing across different regions." A cadet near the front, a being made of what looked like purple mist, raised a tendril. "Surely nothing lives on such a world." Vakrin's laugh was bitter. "Oh, but it does. Terra is home to millions of species, each one more deadly than the last. Microorganisms that can kill in hours. Plants that produce toxins as a defense mechanism. Massive predators that hunt in packs. Even the herbivores are dangerous, many weighing several tons and equipped with horns or tusks." He pulled up an image of a brown creature with huge teeth and claws. "This is called a bear. It weighs 600 kilograms. It can run faster than most sentient beings. It can crush bones with its jaws. And this is considered a medium-sized predator on Terra." The purple mist cadet seemed to shrink into itself. "The oceans are somehow worse," Vakrin said. "Creatures the size of small ships swim in the depths. The pressure at the ocean floor would compress most beings into dense cubes. And despite all this, the dominant species claims to enjoy swimming in these waters for recreation." Jinho felt his stomach drop. He knew what was coming next. No cadet is permitted to visit Terra under any circumstances, Vecran declared. In fact, we have no records of anyone surviving on that world without extensive life support for more than a few days. It is theoretically impossible for any known species to have evolved in such conditions. Jinho could not help himself. He raised his hand. Vecran's eyes fixed on him. Yes, Cadet? Do you have a question? Sir, Jinho said, his voice clear in the silent room. I think there might be an error in your records. An error? Vecran's scales rippled with what might have been amusement or irritation. Yes, sir. That planet you are showing us? We do not call it Terra, we call it Earth, and I grew up there in a city called Seoul. The auditorium erupted into chaos. Cadets turned to stare at him with whatever they used for eyes. The purple mist cadet made a sound like a kettle whistling. Somewhere in the back, someone fainted, creating a loud thump. Vecran stood frozen, his yellow eyes wide. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he checked his data pad, then checked it again. His clawed hand trembled slightly. You are telling me, he said slowly, that you are from the Class 12 Deathworld. Yes, sir. Born and raised. Although we just call it Earth or home. Impossible. The records must be wrong. Perhaps you are from a colony that orbits— No, sir. I grew up on the surface. My family has lived on the Korean peninsula for thousands of years. It is actually a very nice place. My grandmother still grows vegetables in her garden there. Vecran looked like someone had just told him that his ship could not fly. He pulled up Jinho's file and stared at it. Then he looked at Jinho, then back at the file. You are telling me, he said very carefully, that your grandmother lives on a Class 12 Deathworld and grows vegetables. Yes, sir. Tomatoes, peppers, lettuce. She makes excellent kimchi. What is kimchi? Fermented vegetables, sir. Very spicy. Good for digestion. The commander sat down heavily in a chair that groaned under his weight. He looked at Jinho for a long time, his reptilian face unreadable. Finally he spoke. Show me. Jinho pulled up his personal files on his datapad and projected them for the class to see. Images of Seoul appeared. Skyscrapers reaching into the sky, parks filled with trees, the Han River flowing through the city, people walking on busy streets, sitting in cafes, living their lives. This is my home, Jinho said simply. This is Earth, it is where all humans come from. The auditorium remained silent. Every eye was on the images. On the planet they had just been told was a nightmare hellscape. People were smiling. Children were playing. Life was everywhere. Vecran finally found his voice. Class dismissed. Everyone except Cadet Jinho. We need to update some files. As the other cadets filed out, many of them gave Jinho looks that ranged from horror to awe. The purple mist cadet floated past him quickly, as if afraid he might be contagious. Jinho stayed in his seat and waited. He had a feeling his time at the academy was going to be very interesting. 3 weeks had passed since the incident in the auditorium. Jinho had become something of a celebrity at the academy, though not always in a good way. Some cadets avoided him like he carried a dangerous disease. Others stared at him constantly as if trying to figure out how he could possibly be real. But Mirai was different. She had approached him in the cafeteria on the second day after the revelation. Mirai was what the humans might call delicate. Her body was made of a crystalline substance that caught the light and split it into rainbows. She was from a world called Luminara, where the worst thing that ever happened was a cloudy day. I do not believe you are lying, Mirai had said in her musical voice. But I think maybe you are remembering wrong. Perhaps your memories were altered. Perhaps Earth is not as bad as the commander says, and you grew up in a protected dome. Jinho had laughed at that, but not unkindly. I promise you, Mirai, no domes. Just open sky and fresh air. Now, sitting together in the station's observation deck, Mirai was still struggling with the concept. Through the massive window, stars stretched out in all directions. Earth was not visible from here, but Jinho knew which direction it was. He always knew. Explain to me again about the rain, Mirai said. Water falls from the sky? And you do not run for shelter? Not unless it is really heavy, Jinho said. Light rain is actually kind of nice. It cools you down on hot days. Mirai's crystalline face somehow managed to look doubtful. On Luminara, any moisture in the air causes corrosion. We must stay in controlled environments when humidity rises above 3%. You are telling me that water literally falls on you and you call it nice? Sometimes we even play in it. Children especially love jumping in puddles. What is a puddle? Water that collects on the ground after rain. Mirai made a sound like wind chimes in distress. The ground becomes covered in liquid, and people walk through it. We wear boots. This is insane. Jinho grinned. He had this conversation several times now with different cadets. None of them could quite grasp what life on Earth was like. To them, it sounded like a horror story. I think you are exaggerating, Miri said finally. Humans must have very different definitions of danger than the rest of the galaxy. What you call a pleasant day, we would call mildly threatening. What you call dangerous is probably not that bad. You really think so? I do. In fact, I challenge you to prove it. Jinho raised an eyebrow. Prove it how? Take us there. Take a group of cadets to Earth. Show us this death world you call home. If it is as bad as the commander says, we will see. If it is not, then the classification should be changed. You want to go to Earth? Yes, as a training expedition. The Academy allows supervised field trips to various planets. Why not Earth? Because it is classified as a Class 12 death world? Exactly. Which means it is either truly dangerous, or the classification is wrong. Either way, we should find out. Jinho thought about it. The idea of showing his homeworld to his new friends was appealing. He missed Earth. He missed the smell of rain on concrete, the taste of street food, the sound of traffic. But he also knew that what was normal to him was genuinely dangerous to most other species. If we do this, he said carefully, you have to promise to follow my instructions, all of you. No wandering off, no touching things I tell you not to touch, no drinking water unless I say it is safe. You make it sound like we are children. On Earth, you would be. You would be like toddlers taking their first steps. Everything would be new and dangerous. Mireille's crystalline eyes glinted. Then it is settled. I will talk to Commander Vekrin. We will organize an expedition. 2 days later, Jinho found himself standing in Vekrin's office again. The commander looked even less happy than the last time. Cadet Mireille has submitted a formal request for a training expedition to Earth, Vekrin said, his voice flat. With you as the guide? Yes, sir. You understand that this is highly irregular. We have never sent cadets to a Class 12 death world. I understand, sir. But if humans can live there normally, surely a group of trained military cadets can visit for a short time with proper preparation. Vekrin's scales rippled. 20 cadets have volunteered, 20. Do you know what that tells me? That they are curious, sir? That they are young and foolish and do not truly understand what they are asking for. He leaned forward. But the request has been approved by the Academy Board. Apparently, they believe this will be educational. I am required to allow it, with conditions. What conditions, sir? You will stay in a safe location. No cities, no wilderness. Somewhere controlled. Sir, with respect, Earth does not really have locations like that. Even our cities have weather and wildlife. Then choose the least dangerous place you can think of. Jinho thought for a moment. There is a national park in the mountains. Beautiful scenery, relatively safe. We could camp there for a few days. Camp? As in sleep outside? Yes, sir. Vekrin closed his eyes and muttered something in his native language that the translator did not catch. Fine. You will have full medical support on standby. Emergency extraction will be ready at all times. And you will carry enough protective equipment for everyone. Yes, sir. And Cadet Jinho, if anyone dies on this expedition, I will personally ensure you spend the rest of your career scrubbing waste recyclers on the most remote station I can find. Understood, sir. The next week was chaos. Jinho had to arrange transportation, which was harder than expected because most pilots were terrified of Earth's atmosphere. He had to order special equipment because the standard issue gear was not designed for Earth's conditions. And he had to brief the volunteer cadets on what to expect. Bring clothes that can get wet, he told them, and dirty. We will be outside most of the time. The purple mist cadet, whose name was Waru, raised a tendril. Define outside, under the open sky. No roof, no walls. Waru shuddered. For how long? 3 days. 3 days? Continuously? We will have tents, small shelters made of fabric. But yes, we will be exposed to the environment. A cadet named Hyunwoo, whose body was made of compressed gas held together by a containment field, looked worried. What about the humidity you mentioned? Will it be a problem? We will be in the mountains, so it should not be too bad. Maybe 40 to 60%, Hyunwoo made a choking sound. 60%? That is saturated. How do you breathe? It is normal for us. You will need to adjust your containment field settings. Miri floated next to him, her crystalline body glowing softly. I am excited. This will prove that humans are just being dramatic about their homeworld. Jinho did not have the heart to tell her how wrong she was. She would find out soon enough. The day of departure arrived. The shuttle was a military transport, heavily armored and equipped with the best shields money could buy. The pilot, a four-armed insectoid named Tarek, looked like he was being sent to his execution. "I have never flown into a Class 12 atmosphere," Tarek said, his mandibles clicking nervously. "The entry will be rough." "It will be fine," Jinho assured him. "Thousands of ships enter Earth's atmosphere every day." Thousands? Why would anyone do that voluntarily? Because 12 billion humans live there. Tarek's compound eyes went wide. 12 billion? You are joking. No, 12 billion people, living normal lives, raising families, going to work and school. The pilot made a sound like a saw cutting metal and returned to his controls without another word. The 20 volunteer cadets strapped themselves into their seats. Most of them looked excited. A few looked nervous. Jinho took a seat near the front and buckled in. "Beginning descent," Tarek announced. "May whatever gods you believe in have mercy on us all." The shuttle dropped toward the blue and green planet below. As they hit the atmosphere, the ship began to shake. Gently at first, then harder. Warning lights flickered on across the console. "This is normal," Jinho called out as cadets began making sounds of alarm. "Just atmospheric friction. Nothing to worry about." A cadet screamed. Another one started praying in a language the translator could not handle. Waru seemed to be trying to compress himself into as small a space as possible. "You call this normal?" Mirai shouted over the shaking. "Yes! Every time a ship lands." "Multiple times per day?" "Every few seconds, actually. Earth has thousands of spaceports." The shuttle bucked hard, throwing several cadets against their restraints. The lights went red. Alarms blared. "Still normal?" Hyunwoo gasped. "Still normal," Jinho confirmed. Finally, mercifully, the shaking stopped. The shuttle leveled out and began a smooth descent. Through the windows, the cadets could see clouds below them. Thick, white, beautiful clouds. "Those are water vapor formations," Tarek reported. "Suspended liquid in the atmosphere. We will be flying through them. Can we go around?" Someone asked. "They cover hundreds of kilometers. Going around would take too long." The shuttle entered the clouds and visibility went to zero. White mist surrounded them on all sides. The cadets stared in horror at what they could not see. Then they broke through and the land appeared below them. Green forests stretched to the horizon. Rivers wound through valleys like silver ribbons. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks white with snow. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. And somewhere down there, Jinho knew, his grandmother was probably watering her tomato plants and wondering when her grandson would visit next. "Welcome to Earth," he said softly. "We will be landing in 5 minutes." The shuttle touched down in a clearing surrounded by tall trees. Before the doors even opened, the cadets' scanning equipment started going wild. Alerts flashed across every screen. Warnings blared in a dozen different languages. "Hostile environment detected," a computer voice announced calmly. "Recommend immediate departure." "Turn those off," Jinho said, standing up and stretching. "They will be doing that constantly. Earth registers as hostile to most of your equipment." "Perhaps we should listen to the warnings," Waru suggested nervously. His purple mist form was pressed against the back wall of the shuttle. "Trust me, it is safe. Relatively." "What does relatively mean?" Mirai asked. "It means do not wander off, do not touch anything strange, and listen to what I say. Come on, let us go outside." The door opened with a hiss. Immediately, air rushed into the shuttle. The cadets gasped, choked, and made various sounds of distress. "What is that smell?" Hyunwoo wheezed. His containment field flickered and adjusted rapidly. "That is fresh air," Jinho said, breathing deeply. "Pine trees, soil, probably some flowers. Home." "It smells like it is attacking me," a cadet named Sunhee said. She was insectoid, covered in a tough exoskeleton, but even she looked uncomfortable. "Your sensors are not used to it. Give them a moment to adjust." "Come on." Jinho stepped out onto the soil. It felt wonderful under his boots. Real ground, real earth. He had missed this more than he realized. One by one, the cadets followed him out. Most of them moved carefully, as if expecting the ground to explode. Mirai's crystalline body immediately began showing stress fractures as the temperature difference hit her. "Are you all right?" Jinho asked, concerned. "The temperature dropped 5 degrees when we stepped into the shade," she said, her voice strained. "Then rose 3 degrees when we stepped back into sunlight. How do you live with such fluctuations? That is nothing. Wait until night falls. It will drop 20 degrees. 20 degrees? In one day? Sometimes more. Mireille made her wind chime distress sound again. Jinho began unpacking equipment from the shuttle. Tents, sleeping bags, cooking supplies, the basics for camping. The cadets watched him like he was performing some kind of dangerous ritual. First, we need to set up camp, he explained. We will build shelters here in this clearing. The trees provide some protection from wind. The ground is flat and dry. This is a good spot. Protection from wind? Hyunwoo asked. How strong does wind get on this planet? It varies. Today is calm, maybe 10 kilometers per hour. Every scanner in the clearing started beeping. Several cadets checked their equipment in confusion. Our sensors register wind at 11 kilometers per hour, Sunhee said. That is classified as hazardous atmospheric movement. On Earth, we call it a light breeze. What do you call dangerous wind? Anything over 100 kilometers per hour, but that is usually only in storms. The cadets exchanged glances that clearly said they thought Jinho was insane. Setting up camp took longer than expected, because the cadets had never done manual labor before. They had machines for everything. Jinho had to show them how to hammer stakes into the ground, how to stretch fabric tight, how to tie knots that would hold. Hyunwoo struggled the most. His gaseous body could not grip things well. Every time he tried to help, his containment field would flicker, and he would start to disperse. The humidity is worse than I calculated, he gasped. I am absorbing moisture from the air. It is affecting my coherence. Can you adjust your field settings? I already have. 3 times. This atmosphere is saturated with water vapor. How do you tolerate it? Humans are mostly water ourselves, around 60%. Hyunwoo made a sound like escaping steam and floated away to adjust his equipment again. By the time the tents were up, most of the cadets were exhausted. They collapsed in whatever passed for sitting positions for their species. Jinho, meanwhile, was just getting started. Now we need water, he announced. There is a stream about 200 meters that way, Mirai said, checking her scanner. But the water shows high levels of contamination. It is unsafe. It is fine. We just need to filter and purify it. You are going to drink the groundwater? The water that has been sitting on this planet, exposed to everything? Yes, people do it all the time. Well, not usually straight from the stream, but with treatment it is fine. Jinho led a group of cadets to the stream. It was small and clear, flowing over smooth rocks. Fish swam in the deeper pools. Birds sang in the trees overhead. To Jinho, it was peaceful. To the cadets, it was a nightmare. There are organisms in the water, Woru whispered. Living things swimming. Those are fish. Why are they in the water you are going to drink? They live there. Do not worry, we will filter them out. A fish jumped, catching an insect. Several cadets screamed. It is hunting, Sunhee shouted. The aquatic creature is predating. Yes, fish eat bugs. It is normal. Nothing about this is normal. Jinho filled several containers with water and added purification tablets. While they waited for the tablets to work, he gathered firewood from the forest floor. What are you doing now? Mirai asked, making a fire. We need it for cooking and warmth. You are going to create combustion. Intentionally. Yes. That is insane. That is camping. It took 3 tries to get the fire started because his matches got slightly damp. The cadets watched in horrified fascination as flames licked up from the kindling. When the fire was burning steadily, they all backed away from it like it might attack. This is how humans have cooked food for thousands of years, Jinho explained, setting up a pot over the flames. Before we had technology, we had fire. But fire is dangerous, Hyunwoo said. It converts matter into heat and gas. It spreads rapidly. It can destroy entire structures. Yes, that is why you have to be careful with it. But it is also useful. Watch. He made a simple stew with vegetables and dried meat from his supplies. As it cooked, the smell filled the clearing. Despite their fear of the fire, several cadets drifted closer, curious about the aroma. You are making food? Here, now? Yes, we have to eat. We brought ration packs. Those taste terrible. This will be better. When the stew was ready, Jinho offered some to anyone who wanted to try. Most cadets refused, sticking to their rations. But Mirai, curious as always, accepted a small amount in a bowl. She took a cautious taste. Her crystalline face changed colors, cycling through several shades before settling on a soft pink. This is good, she said, surprised. Thank you. My grandmother taught me to cook. The grandmother who grows vegetables on a Class 12 Deathworld. The very same. As evening approached, the temperature began to drop. The cadets noticed immediately. Their equipment started alerting them to the change. Several of them put on additional protective layers. "How far will the temperature fall?" Sunny asked. "It was 25 degrees at midday. Tonight it might get down to 5 or 6. That is a 20-degree drop." "I know, I mentioned that earlier. I thought you were exaggerating." "I do not exaggerate about weather. Weather is serious." As darkness fell, the sounds of the forest changed. New creatures came out. Owls hooted. Insects chirped. Somewhere in the distance something howled. Every cadet froze. "What was that?" Waru whispered. "Probably a coyote. Maybe a wolf if we are lucky." "Lucky? You want to encounter a wolf?" "I would like to see one. They are beautiful animals. But do not worry, they avoid humans." "Why would they avoid humans?" "Because we are dangerous." The cadets looked at Jinho, this small mammal sitting by his campfire eating stew. They looked at the darkness beyond the firelight where predators prowled. And slowly, something began to dawn on them. On every other world, visitors were the ones out of place. They were the ones who needed protection. But here, on this nightmare planet, the local wildlife was afraid of the native species. Here, humans were not surviving on Earth. They were thriving. Jinho finished his stew and started teaching the cadets how to properly store food so animals would not take it during the night. He showed them how to hang bags from tree branches, how to seal containers, how to keep the campsite clean. "You have to respect the wildlife," he explained. "This is their home. We are just visiting. If we are smart and careful, there will be no problems." A rustling in the bushes made everyone jump. A small creature emerged into the firelight. It looked like a masked bandit with clever paws and a striped tail. "Raccoon," Jinho said calmly. "They are curious. Do not feed it." The raccoon stared at them for a long moment, decided they were not interesting, and wandered off into the darkness. "That creature could have attacked us," Sunhee said. "It could have, but it did not, because it does not see us as food or a threat. We are just other creatures sharing the forest." "How are you so calm?" Jinho smiled. "Because I grew up here. This is normal to me. You are seeing Earth as a death world. I see it as home." That night, as the cadets tried to sleep in their tents, strange sounds filled the darkness. Branches creaked. Leaves rustled. Animals called. The temperature dropped and dropped. Mirei's crystalline structure contracted in the cold, creating tiny cracking sounds. Yunwoo's containment field had to work overtime to maintain his shape. Several cadets activated heating elements in their sleeping bags. Jinho, wearing just a jacket, slept peacefully by the dying embers of the fire. In the morning, he was woken by screaming. He rushed out of his tent to find Sunhee staring in horror at a plant growing near her tent. It was just a morning glory, its flowers opening in the dawn light. "It moved," she shouted. The organism moved, on its own. The second day started with what Jinho considered beautiful weather. The sun was shining. Birds were singing. A gentle wind rustled the leaves. The temperature was a comfortable 18 degrees. The cadets considered it barely survivable. "My joints are calcifying," Mirei complained. "The temperature fluctuations are causing stress fractures throughout my body." "I brought medical supplies," Jinho offered. "Do you need something for the pain?" "Pain? I do not feel pain. But my structural integrity is down to 87%. If this continues, I might shatter." Jinho looked at her with concern. He had not realized how hard this would be on crystalline life forms. "We can call for early extraction if you need to leave." "No." Mirei's color shifted to a determined orange. "I committed to 3 days. I will last 3 days. I want to see what else this planet has to show us, if you are sure." "I am. Although I am beginning to understand why this world is classified as it is." After breakfast, Jinho decided to teach them some basic survival skills. He showed them how to identify edible plants versus poisonous ones. The cadets were horrified to learn that many earth plants produce toxins as a defense mechanism. "Why would plants need to defend themselves?" Waru asked. "Because animals eat them," Jinho explained. "So some plants evolved poisons to make animals sick. It is a survival strategy. The plants are actively trying to kill things, not kill usually, Just make them sick enough that they will not eat that plant again. Your planet has chemical warfare happening at the plant level. I guess you could say that. Sunhee examined a berry bush through her scanner. This plant produces a compound that would cause severe digestive distress in 90% of known species. Yet you say some of these berries are edible? For humans, yes. Not those ones, though. Those are poisonous even to us. How do you tell the difference? Experience, education. We teach children which plants are safe. You have to educate your young on which plants will not kill them? Does not everyone? The cadets had no answer to that. Around midday, Jinho noticed something. The wind was picking up. The sky, which had been clear, was developing dark clouds on the horizon. The birds had stopped singing. He checked his datapad, accessing Earth's weather network. What he saw made his stomach sink. We need to reinforce the camp, he said suddenly. Why? Mirai asked. What is wrong? There is a storm coming. A storm? Your scans show nothing dangerous. Check again. Use the planetary weather satellites. The cadets pulled up their own datapads. One by one, their faces changed as they saw what Jinho was seeing. A massive weather system was moving toward them. Fast. This cannot be right, Hyunwoo said, his gaseous form rippling with distress. The scanner shows wind speeds of over 150 kilometers per hour. Electrical activity in the millions of volts. Precipitation rates that would flood most cities. This is classified as an extinction-level weather event. On Earth, we call it a hurricane, Jinho said calmly, or typhoon, depending on where you are. They are pretty common. Common? These happen regularly? Every year. Dozens of them. This one is not even that big. Category 3, maybe 4. We need to evacuate immediately, Sunhee said, already moving toward the shuttle. We do not have time, Jinho said, checking the storm's speed. It is moving at 60 kilometers per hour. We have maybe 2 hours before it hits. The shuttle needs 3 hours to prep for takeoff in these conditions. Then we will die here, Waru moaned. No, we will not. We will prepare. I have been through storms before. Worse ones than this. We can survive if we work together and stay calm. The cadets looked at him like he had suggested they jump off a cliff. First, we need to take down the tents and find better shelter, Jinho said. There are some rock formations about half a kilometer east. They will provide protection from the wind. You want us to move? Now? With the extinction event approaching? Yes, now, move. Something in Jinho's voice made them obey. Maybe it was the calm certainty. Maybe it was the fact that he was the only one who had survived on this planet his whole life. Either way, they started packing. The wind was already getting stronger. Leaves swirled through the clearing. The dark clouds were visible now, rolling toward them like a tsunami in the sky. Jinho coordinated the evacuation with military efficiency. He had each cadet carry what they could manage. He made sure the medical supplies were secure. He put Hyunwoo, who was struggling with the increasing humidity, in the middle of the group where others could help if his containment field failed. They reached the rocks just as the first drops of rain began to fall. The cadets stared at the water falling from the sky in absolute horror. It is happening, Mirai whispered. The atmospheric moisture is condensing and falling as liquid. Rain, Jinho confirmed. Lots of it. Get under the overhang. Now. The rock formation created a natural shelter, a depression in the stone that would protect them from most of the wind and rain. Jinho helped everyone inside, then started arranging their supplies to block the opening partially. What are you doing? Sunhee asked, making a windbreak. The storm is going to push air and water in here. We need to deflect it. You have done this before. Once, when I was camping with my father, we got caught in a typhoon. Scared me half to death, but we survived fine. You were scared? Of course. I am not stupid. Storms are dangerous. But they are survivable if you are prepared. The rain intensified. What started as drops became sheets. Then it became a solid wall of water falling from the sky. The sound was deafening. Thunder cracked overhead and lightning lit up the world in flashes of white. The cadets huddled together in the shelter, their equipment going crazy with warnings. Jinho sat near the opening, watching the storm with a careful eye. How long will this last? Mirai asked, her voice barely audible over the roar of the wind and rain. Could be a few hours. Could be all night. Hurricane season can be unpredictable. Hurricane season? This happens enough that you have a season for it? Late summer, usually. June to November in the northern hemisphere. 6 months? These events happen for 6 months? Not constantly, but they can happen during that time. We track them with satellites, issue warnings, prepare. Most people evacuate coastal areas when a big one is coming. But you did not evacuate. We are not in a coastal area. We are in the mountains. The worst we will get is wind and rain. The coast gets storm surges, flooding, real damage. And people still live there? Millions of people. They just build stronger buildings and have good warning systems. Lightning struck a tree less than 50 meters away. The crack was so loud it felt like a physical blow. The tree split down the middle, one half crashing to the ground in a spray of splinters. Several cadets screamed. Waru compressed himself into a tiny purple ball. Hyunwoo's containment field nearly failed, and he had to spend several minutes pulling himself back together. That could have hit us, Sunhee said, her voice shaking. It could have, Jinho agreed, but it did not. Lightning usually hits the tallest thing around. That is why we are in this low shelter, not out in the open. You have strategies for surviving lightning strikes? Of course. We teach it to children. Do not stand under trees. Do not hold metal objects. If you are caught in the open, crouch down low. Make yourself a small target. This is normal knowledge for humans. Basic safety, like knowing not to touch fire or to look both ways before crossing a street. The storm raged on. Wind howled through the trees like a living thing. Rain fell in quantities that seemed impossible. The temperature dropped another 10 degrees. Water began to pool at the entrance of their shelter despite Jinho's windbreak. The ground cannot absorb water this fast, Mireille observed. It is running across the surface. Flash flooding, Jinho confirmed. We are high enough that it will not reach us, but lower areas might flood. Flood? As in covered with water? Yes, sometimes entire regions flood. Water rises into homes, buildings. It is a major problem in some areas, and people just stay. They do not abandon these regions. Some do, but most rebuild. Humans are stubborn. We like living where we want to live, even if it is dangerous. A massive gust of wind hit the shelter. The sound was like a freight train. Their makeshift windbreak held, but barely. Supplies shifted. Equipment rattled. For a few seconds, it felt like the entire world was trying to tear them apart. Then it passed. The wind dropped slightly. The rain continued, but the worst seemed to be over. Is it done? Waru asked hopefully. That was probably the eye wall passing near us, Jinho said. The worst part of the storm. It should start to ease up now. True to his word, over the next hour, the storm gradually weakened. The rain became lighter. The wind dropped from screaming to merely howling. Lightning flashed less frequently. The cadets slowly relaxed. They had survived. They had been in the middle of what their equipment classified as a planet-killing storm, and they had survived. Jinho pulled out some ration bars and passed them around. Anyone hungry? How can you think about food at a time like this? Yunwoo asked. The storm is passing. We survived. Now we need to maintain our strength. Basic survival priorities: shelter, water, food. We have shelter. We have water. Too much water, actually. So now we eat. Mireille took a ration bar with crystalline hands that were still. The shuttle broke through Earth's atmosphere for the last time, carrying 20 exhausted cadets and one human who looked remarkably refreshed. Jinho stared out the window as his home planet grew smaller, feeling the familiar ache of homesickness already settling in. 3 days on Earth had changed everything. The pilot, Tarek, had nearly fainted when he saw them emerging from the forest. All the aliens looked like they had been through a war. Mireille's crystalline body was covered in hairline fractures. Hyunwoo's containment field was barely holding. Sunhee's exoskeleton had stress marks. Waru looked like he had compressed himself to half his normal size and forgotten how to expand again. But they were all alive, and more importantly, they were all changed. Back at the academy, the expedition became the only thing anyone talked about. The cadets had submitted their reports, and those reports were spreading through the student body like wildfire. What had been dismissed as exaggeration was now confirmed by multiple independent sources. Earth was worse than anyone had imagined. And humans were far more impressive than anyone had given them credit for. Commander Vekran called Jinho to his office 3 days after their return. The large reptilian looked tired, as if he had not been sleeping well. I have read the reports, Vekran said without preamble. All 20 of them. Do you know what they recommend? No, sir. They recommend upgrading Earth's classification to Class or 15. They say Class 12 does not adequately capture the danger. I see. They also say that survival on Earth without a native guide is impossible. Not improbable, impossible. Vekrin leaned forward. Cadet Mirai wrote that your grandmother grows vegetables in an area where the ground literally shakes regularly, where toxic rain falls, where the temperature swings 40 degrees between day and night. And she does this as a hobby. My grandmother is a tough woman, sir. Your entire species is apparently made of tough women and men. Vekrin pulled up a hologram. Do you know what this is? Jinho looked at the image. It showed a human city on a coast. Looks like it could be anywhere. Maybe Southeast Asia? This is a city that was hit by a tsunami 10 years ago. A wall of water 30 meters high struck the coast. The water traveled 10 kilometers inland. The city should have been completely destroyed. Was this the Indian Ocean tsunami? You know about it? Everyone knows about it. It was terrible. Hundreds of thousands of people died. Yes, hundreds of thousands. Vekrin zoomed in on the hologram. But do you see this? The city is still there. Humans rebuilt. Not only rebuilt, but built stronger. They created early warning systems. They educated their children about tsunami survival. They constructed seawalls. And now 1 million humans live in that same area. We do not give up easily, sir. No, you do not. Vekrin sat back. I have been doing research since you left. Human history, human settlements, human wars. Do you know what I learned? What, sir?
Humans have fought wars on every continent of your planet.
In deserts where water is scarce. In frozen wastelands where nothing should survive. In jungles where disease kills faster than weapons. And humans have won battles in all these places. Vekrin's scales rippled. There is a human city in a desert. It has millions of people living there. They pipe water from hundreds of kilometers away. They cool their buildings in temperatures that would kill most species in hours, and they call it entertainment. They go there for fun. Las Vegas, Jinho guessed. The records do not specify, but yes, probably. Humans build cities in impossible places and then invite tourists. We like a challenge, sir. A challenge. You call living on a Class 15 Deathworld a challenge. Vekrin shook his head. The Academy Board has made a decision. They want to create a new training program. Human survival philosophy, they are calling it. They want you and other human cadets to teach it. Teach what exactly? Your approach to survival. Your mindset. Humans do not just endure hostile environments, you thrive in them. You find joy in places that should only bring death. The board believes other species can learn from this. I am not sure we can teach that, sir. It is just how we grow up, perhaps. But you can try. The first class starts next term. You will be assisting the instructors, Jinho saluted. Yes, sir. I will do my best. As he left the office, he found Mirai waiting for him in the hallway. Her fractures had been repaired and her crystalline body glowed with health again. They are making you teach? She asked. Apparently. Good, you should. We learned more in 3 days on Earth than in 3 months here. You almost shattered. I did, but I did not. And now I know I can survive things I never thought possible. She fell into step beside him as they walked. I have been thinking about what you said, about Earth being beautiful once you see past the fear. And I want to see it. Really see it. Not just survive it, but experience it the way you do. That might take a while. I have time. Maybe after graduation I can visit properly. See your grandmother's garden. Try real kimchi. Stand in the rain without being terrified, Jinho smiled. I would like that. I think my grandmother would too. She loves having guests. Word of the expedition spread beyond the academy. News services picked up the story. Suddenly, humans were not just the strange species from the edge of known space. They were survivors. Warriors. The people who looked at a planet that could kill them in 1,000 different ways and decided to build civilizations anyway. Jinho met the other human cadets in the academy. There were not many, maybe 30 out of 12,000 students, but they all had similar stories. Aliens who were terrified of them. Aliens who could not understand how humans lived on Earth. Aliens who had never considered that toughness and adaptability could be as valuable as technology and firepower. Dayun, a human from the polar regions, told about the time her alien roommate saw a video of her ice swimming. She thought it was a punishment. I had to explain that people do it for health benefits. She still does not believe me. Kiwan, who grew up in a desert region, said his classmates could not comprehend how his hometown dealt with sandstorms. They kept asking why we did not just leave. I said, leave where? This is home. They did not get it. As the term progressed, other expeditions were organized. Small groups of cadets visited Earth with human guides. Each group came back changed. Some were traumatized. Others were inspired. But all of them gained a new respect for the species that called the Deathworld home. Graduation day arrived faster than Jinho expected. The ceremony was held in the same auditorium where he had first revealed his home planet. He stood with his fellow cadets, all dressed in their formal uniforms, waiting to receive their commissions. Mirai was graduating with honors. So was Sunhee. Even Woru, who had been terrified the entire expedition, was graduating with high marks. They had all grown, all learned. When it was time for speeches, Mirai was chosen to represent her class. She floated to the podium, her crystalline body refracting the lights into rainbow patterns. When I first came to this academy, she began, I thought I knew what strength was. I came from a peaceful world. We had technology, education, culture. We thought we were advanced, she paused. Then I met the humans. And I learned that advancement is not just about technology. It is about adaptability, resilience, the will to face impossible challenges and overcome them. She gestured to Jinho and the other human cadets. These beings come from a world that actively tries to kill them. Every day on Earth is a survival challenge that would destroy most of us. But humans do not just survive. They laugh, they play. They build art and music and beauty in the middle of chaos. Mirai's colors shifted to a warm gold. I had the privilege of visiting Earth. I nearly died there multiple times. A storm that our equipment classified as a planet-killing event was called Not That Bad by our human guide. His grandmother, an elderly woman, lives through these storms regularly and considers them a minor inconvenience. The audience was silent, listening. I learned something on Earth, Mirai continued. I learned that survival is not about having the best equipment or the strongest shields. It is about mindset. It is about looking at a problem and saying, I can handle this. It is about respecting danger without fearing it. It is about knowing when to fight and when to wait. She turned to look at Jinho directly. Humans do not conquer their planet. They dance with it. They learn its rhythms. They respect its power. And in doing so, they have become the most adaptable species I have ever encountered. When we go out into the galaxy as officers, Mirai said, addressing the entire graduating class, we will face dangers. We will encounter the unknown. We will be tested in ways we cannot predict. And when that happens, I hope we can all channel a little bit of that human philosophy. That stubborn refusal to give up. That ability to find joy even in hardship. That fundamental belief that any challenge, no matter how deadly, can be survived with creativity and determination. She bowed slightly. The greatest weapon humanity offers the galaxy is not their strength or their toughness. It is their hope. Their insistence that tomorrow will be better, even when today is terrible. And I am honored to serve alongside them. The applause was thunderous. Jinho felt his eyes getting wet, which was embarrassing, but he could not help it. Mirai had understood. They had all understood. After the ceremony, as cadets celebrated and said their goodbyes, Commander Vekrin approached Jinho one last time.